Welcome to the Chainsaw Man episode that's most likely going to make you cry, make you upset, make you absolutely shocked with what actually transpired. You were happy, you were gleeful, you were loving the moment-to-moment interaction between Denji and Himeno and even the rest of the cast of characters, just going about their everyday lives and enjoying themselves. And then very quickly it twists and distorts into despair, into destruction, into this dark nature that has always been looming, but now it's fully here. I absolutely loved this episode. I think they handled it with so much care, so much finesse, and creativity as well. There was a lot of different ways that they could have done this emotionally, contextually, thematically, symbolically even, whatever describing word you want to give it, right? But their approach, I appreciate. It feels a lot more moodier, a lot more grounded, which is what they're going for obviously, but also weighty, not only within the movement of the characters, the animation, but just the overall atmosphere. It's very suffocating, it's very unknown and unpredictable, and I think with what they set out to do with the direction that they had, they nailed it perfectly, especially that transition. Once again, every single week, I know a lot of you are going to hate me for it, I talk about the transition between these different moods. I think week by week I've simplified it more and more, but this episode is quite literally the best example I can give you of handling the transition of tension and emotion effortlessly, shifting from the beginning of the episode, the halfway point where it starts to build up and creep in, and then the rest of the episode, which is just chaotic at its finest. Starting off with the Himeno and Denji scene, I'm actually surprised they stayed here for as long as they did. They really sat within this moment, even gave us a couple of different perspectives, because the beginning of this episode is kind of more so the ending of the previous episode, and they're stitched together, but you get to see it kind of backwards, if that makes sense. You actually get more of that ending from the previous episode within the beginning of this one. So you see the context, you see the full picture, you see how Himeno acts, you see what's happening with Denji, and it's just moody. It's very nice. It takes its time to really sink in, and even though you've kind of already partially experienced it, because you're getting it from a different perspective, because you're getting different angles, different approaches as like a first person camera that I really appreciate with Himeno walking into the room, climbing on top of Denji, you get to experience everything fully. I like this. I think it's very well thought out, very well appreciated, and it does a lot to front load your emotional connection to Himeno, because it does get pretty personal. It moves over to the next day and we find out that they actually never done anything, and there's a good reason for this, mostly because Denji is solidified within his viewpoint towards Makima, and you get a cute little flashback of Makima taking care of Denji and giving him a lollipop. These moments, as beneficial as they are in response to the scene that it's connected to, these are the stepping stones to build up your focus or connection to these individuals before the transition takes place. A great way that they double down on this is the conversation that Denji and Himeno have after. It's on a balcony, the scenery is beautiful, and they have some very interesting shots or framing of both of these characters, stuff that you have not seen before. There's these extra close-ups of both characters, these wide shots, these over-the-shoulder type third-person perspective, and for me it's really intuitive but also engaging. Kind of reels you into the scene even more and makes you pay attention to what these characters are talking about, because even though it seems pretty trivial at first, not necessarily all too important, it helps a lot for what the rest of the episode's about to provide you. Basically, this conversation is Himeno and Denji coming to an agreement, with Himeno helping Denji to pursue Makima and Denji helping Himeno to pursue Aki. Pretty straightforward. They come to a mutual understanding and they befriend each other, which is very nice. More friends for Denji. Very quickly you feel that something is wrong, that this feels a little bit too good to be true, and even the atmosphere in response to it is just a little bit too murky. It's not as crystal clear as you want it, so you could probably feel within that episode that something was up. You probably couldn't put your finger on it, but maybe you had a hunch. Right after that you get a very infamous scene for Chainsaw Man's story, the death of Makima. I think this was handled extremely well because it comes out of nowhere. It's very straightforward, almost like they're about to hit you with a bunch of information or dialogue for you to digest, but in reality it's much more sinister. And as soon as you see the camera shift, you hear some odd noises in the background with guns being loaded and drawn out. It goes down, and it doesn't shy away from it either. They could have easily just cut it off completely, but they show you the massacre, they show you the destruction, and they show you Makima. She gets shot by the front and the back by 4 different individuals on this train. It is definitely brutal. This is the start of the transition. Makima has just been killed in front of your eyes. Something has to come in response to this, and it definitely does, but it takes its time to actually traverse you into that situation. So you get to see the different characters going about their day-to-day life, doing their work, patrolling the streets, etc. And each person that they come to encounter actually pulls out a gun of their own. So you don't know this at first, but the music is the first indicator that something is wrong. It's droney, it's brain filling, and it just makes this whole scene a lot more suffocating. It's disgustingly uncomfortable, and they do a perfect job with that because everyone gets shot. And then you go back to Denji's scene and he's having a conversation with someone, a mysterious man eating right next to him. Now this man supplies a bit of information, but the conversation I find rather fitting for the mood because it's just enough intriguing mixed with just enough mystery and just enough confusion, because you're trying to understand what the purpose of this person is, why he's interrupting the group's meal, and when everyone obviously gets shot, that's when you know that this guy is probably like the big head honcho of the situation, and he basically is for the most part. And this is where you find out that this person is directly connected to the mobster that Denji used to work for. And as soon as you see that picture, it begins. In your mind, you know this is it. This is where the story changes. This is where everything gets escalated and blown out of proportion, and it definitely does, and they do a beautiful job with it. Everyone gets pretty much hammered straight from the start. There's no response, there's no fight back. It's kind of just try to survive this first interaction, because he just starts blasting, he starts shooting. This is cut in with a beautiful showcase of Aki, especially with the Fox Devil that he utilizes that comes in very menacingly and is also an iconic shot in itself. I think the fight between Katana Man, this mysterious guy, and Aki is really well handled. You get to see Aki's cursed devil for the first time, which is connected to the needle sword that he has, and it's very powerful. And I love the little flick animation that they do for it because this is directly pulled from the manga. For me, they do a great job in capturing the brutality of Katana Man. He does not care. He does not hold back. He really just drives forward and is a menace to deal with. He's problematic, of course. And Aki's doing his best while everyone is obviously severely injured. Himeno is basically dying. Denji's knocked out at this point. He copped a bullet to the head, and Power is the only one there that's trying to figure out what to do. So Aki takes the reins as he normally does. And again, like I was saying, this is the reason why Aki has taken the forefront for a lot of the development. Why he feels like more of a main character than potentially Denji, or how they shift and change between the main character spotlight. This is very vital. They're all the main cast of characters, but Aki has a lot of prominent focus on him for this specific reason and stuff later on. He is kind of the heartbeat of Denji and Power's lifestyle. And because he's not necessarily unique in a sense, he doesn't have these crazy traits like Denji or super chaotic and outlandish like Power, we have to give him that bit more of a focus. And it's beautiful with how they've done it, and especially with this scene, with this importance to Himeno and everything you just got prior at the beginning of the episode, it makes it all the more painful that Aki is fighting for his life, and it's all coming at a cost, especially against an individual that he knows nothing about, that isn't a devil nor a human, so he's like Denji being a hybrid and is so desperately trying to save his friends. Even though he originally gets the upper hand with the needle sword because Katana Man was taken off guard and genuinely underestimated Aki, we still get this iconic curse-like scene with Katana Man crucified in this specific position, and it's glorious, it's disgusting, it's beautiful, it's everything that you would want. That doesn't last long. A mysterious woman appears, we're gonna call her Snake Woman, and Katana Man genuinely takes Aki seriously this time, bypasses him completely in one go. And before Aki can even die, Himeno steps in, does this very massive sacrificial move to save everyone around her, basically giving her all to the ghost. This whole end section is honestly just a sad scene. We've only spent a little time with Himeno, but they've done so much to focus on her, to build up her character, especially her relationship with Aki, and with all the hard work that has gone in with Aki, with him turning around and seeing her disappear, it breaks your heart. It's devastating that someone can be gone that easily, and with a payoff that really isn't there. Everything that Himeno done, sacrificing her entire self to gain this power so Katana Man could be killed to save Aki, yes, she did buy that time, but not in the way that she thought, because you get this beautiful showcase of the ghost within its full power, and it's horrifying. It's animated well, it's visualized extremely well, and it's just disgusting. I think is the best way to put it. This is quickly cut short. You know now that Katana Man isn't someone to be messed with lightly, and this Snake Woman is definitely not to be messed with lightly. To really kick you in the heart, the last thing that you see in the episode is the remaining clothes of Himeno, and Aki turning around and seeing that. No body, no blood, no nothing, just the remaining clothes of Himeno. That's the whole episode, just to punch you while you're down even more. And it ends at such a crucial point where you feel so uncomfortable because you don't know what's going to happen next. I think the utter worst thing to truly just spit on you, right? So you've had your heart broken, kicked down, punched down, and now they're spitting on you, is with the ending. I was waiting for this ending. TK NK is the artist that done the opening of Tokyo Ghoul, very iconic Unravel, right? He did not miss at all. Beautiful vocals, beautiful music, and the visuals that it went with, they knew what they were doing because it's all completely symbolic and relationship heavy towards Himeno and Aki. So you thought the ending of the episode was sad? Now you get the actual ending to rub it in even further. How lovely of them. For me, they done a brilliant job, enough to make you cry, enough to make you upset, enough to honestly annoy you because of how good it is. I couldn't be more happier. But hopefully from here, all of you anime onlys now recognize that this story is about to change. This story is about to elevate into something else entirely. However, with all of that, please let me know your thoughts right now. I'd love to hear them. Thank you.